hope I learned something. I hope I learned something. I hope I learned something from the stormy seas, from the brightest days, from the darkest nights, from the sunny days. I hope you learned something. I hope you learned something. I hope you learned something from the stormy seas, from the brightest days, from the darkest nights, from the sunny days.
Howdy, howdy, howdy. Welcome to the daily All Hat No Kettle News Rodeo. I'm your host, Pat. Playing hurt today, folks. I'll just tell you right off the bat, I've got a major migraine sitting right here. It wants to drop all the way down. I took a Nurtec about an hour and a half ago. It's holding it off. But it has created a real mess today. I'll just be very honest with you. I was able to produce most of the first half of the show. Some on that, more on that just a little bit. But the second half of the show I just could not get into. I've got the stories pulled up. I've got them all in order. But I wasn't able to digest them the way I normally do. So there's going to be some hit and misses later on. I just want to let you know. My sincerest apologies. I could not pull it together today. Anyway. Also then, to get into a little more detail, the YouTube segment is going to be pretty short today. Normally I would do state news as a big part of the first half of the show, but all the state news I pulled up today, except maybe for one, had to do with the November election. And I have to get into some real specifics regarding those stories that I just don't dare do on YouTube, because if I say exactly the wrong thing, my channel's gone. That's it. It's gone. And I don't want that to happen. I spent a lot of time building this channel, and I don't want to lose it. And so there's that. So YouTube, you're only going to get a few stories today. Again, always feel free. Let me put up the split screen. Always feel free to join us at dlive.tv/AHNC_hat or trovo.live. Same URLs there for the morning game streams, of course. Tomorrow morning we start at 9 a.m. And DLive and Trovo also have great cell phone apps and mobile apps, I should say, for both Android and iSystems, Apple systems. So there you have it. By the way, we're almost finished with Witcher 3. I'm going to be playing all the endings through the Blood. We're doing Blood and Wine right now, and I'm going to be playing all the endings of Blood and Wine. We're getting through part of the first of, I think, the 3 endings right now, but we've still got a ways to go. Fair ways to go, but we'll do that, and then we'll back up and we'll do the other endings in order. So anyway, so enough of all that. Let's go ahead and get into the show. By the way, I changed how I switch over from the first half of the show to the second half of the show. Much more seamless now, a lot less clicking, and I think it's more professional. So let's get into it. First off, and remember today is Friday, so we will be closing with the best of this week's FreedomToons. I am a monthly subscriber, very proud to be so, and love to end the week with a FreedomToons. Today's is especially awesome, let me just tell you. But first, our Babylon Bee bookend on the left today from their politics section. Conservative SCOTUS doing great job of conserving all the bad laws Democrats have passed. And there we have a picture of the Supreme Court itself, Dateline, Washington, D.C., after the conservative-leaning Supreme Court this week upheld another unconstitutional law passed by Democrats. Conservatives praised their justices for doing such a great job of conserving all the terrible ideas Dems have had over the past few decades. Quote, Obamacare has been conserved. This is yet another victory for conservatism, said one conservative commentator, Dave France. Continuing the quote, a lot of crazy far-right Republicans are saying this is a loss, but it's actually a victory. We must uphold the norms introduced by Democrats in the last few years, ideas that we would have considered to be insane just a couple of decades ago. They are now our country's new normal, and we must conserve them. He added, this is a big win for conservatives. He continued on to warn SCOTUS against overturning other bad Democrat ideas like Roe v. Wade and allowing big tech to team up with big government to censor anyone they want with impunity, since these are, quote, dearly held American values we've developed in the last few years, close quote. Another quote, also, Trump would support overturning these things, so we must oppose, close quote. At publishing time, Biden had signed into law a proposal to send all Republicans to labor camps, and conservatives were saying that they are looking forward to their conservative Supreme Court conserving this idea as well. The Babylon Bee, everyone. By the way, I will admit, when I saw the headline of the SCOTUS 9-0 decision regarding the Catholic adoption service in Philadelphia, I thought, great, another upholding of religious liberty. And then I got deeper into the decision and saw how they ruled on a pure technicality, and it really did nothing to conserve religious freedom at all. All Philadelphia has to do is change the law a slight little bit, which they will be able to do in no time at all, and that organization will be right back in court all over again. And thank you so much, JF. JF comments on watching the Witcher series. No, not commenting is fine. It's fine. I'm just glad you're there. It is nice to know that you're there. So thank you for that. I appreciate it. I'm enjoying it. And remember, Far Cry 5 is coming up probably within just a few days. Far Cry 5 is coming up. I've already loaded it onto the system and updated it through Steam. I just have to do a few tricks and treats with OBS. And it should be ready to go. I've already got all the screen settings picked, and I've stress tested the graphics. So I think I've got the right graphics settings selected. Most are ultra, so should be good. And I would like to welcome 46 and 2 to the Trovo channel. So very, very nice to see you again. It has been a little while, and I hope you are well. All right, moving right along. My personal conceit, the market was a bloodbath today, folks. An absolute bloodbath. There's no other way to put it. The market saw an almost 1.6% decline today in the Dow Jones alone, closing over 525 points in the red. Now dangerously close to breaking through the 33,000 floor into 32,000 territory. And remember, not too long ago, the market saw a plus 35,000 mark. And it has been absolute downhill ever since. I know some people that I had talked to about getting in the market last year when it had collapsed, writing out some short-term gains, and then getting out, because I fully expected this to happen during the 46 asterisk administration. Something that I have not been shy about saying. And some of them saw and got out this year, and some of them said that they're going to ride it out, and now they're seeing pretty sharp declines in their holdings. Right now, I'm not a financial advisor. I never will be. But I'll tell you right now, unless you're holding stocks that are really strong dividend stocks, you better be looking for a place to park your money, because I don't see this turning around anytime soon. In fact, the market saw a pretty sharp dip earlier today, down as low as 33,309 before it rallied for a brief little bit. But as is often the case on Fridays, at the very end, there was a very sharp sell-off, bringing us to where we are now, which is below that 33,300 mark. The S&P 500 also lost over 1.3% today. The NASDAQ is barely above 14,000 now, losing almost a full percentage point today. Gold slipped heavily yet again, now well below $1,800 an ounce, sitting at $1,761 and change right now. Bitcoin also took it in the teeth. It's now well below 36,000, sitting at 35,649 and change per coin. But I'll tell you, if you're bullish on Bitcoin, now's the time to buy. Again, not a financial advisor. Not a financial advisor, but I do know some people who have set up Coinbase accounts. And one thing Coinbase allows you to do is do scheduled buys in different cryptocurrency. And I do know some people who have set up a weekly buy of a particular amount, and they've been buying at numbers between 39 and 36,000, and that either Bitcoin's got nowhere to go but up, or you're buying at the basement and you're not going to lose that much. But again, not a financial advisor. Just saying. Certainly not giving you any personal details. All right, so getting in again, it's going to be a short day for YouTube. I got a lot of election news that I just can't cover on YouTube without losing the channel, so I just want to let you all know ahead of time. Anyway, one of the things that came out of the quote-unquote summit with Putin this week, between Putin and 46 asterisk, was 46 asterisk saying quite proudly during his quote-unquote press conference after his meeting with Putin. Again, it was not a summit. It was a get-together. Many people, and I will agree with them, this is not my original thought, but I have to agree, many people have said this entire meeting with Putin was solely designed to let people know that Biden doesn't interact with people the way Trump does. That was it. That was the optic. And as you saw from the mainstream press, that's exactly what they did. All you heard was how stately, statesmanship, calm, etc., confident Biden was. As opposed to the fact that he got exactly zero out of the Russians and just laid out some quote-unquote ground rules with no mentions of any hard penalties if any of those rules are broken. And one of the ones that came up was this bit about infrastructure being attacked by Russian cyber systems, Russian hackers, either state-run or state-sponsored or state-approved, any of those three. But Biden gave, and he proudly pointed out, he gave Putin a list of, and Biden even said, I don't have the list in front of me, but I believe it was 16. He can't even remember what he gave him just a couple hours before. But he said he gave Putin a list of 16 things, approximately, that were off limits for cyber attacks. Almost exact quote. These are off limits. And of course, anyone with half a brain came up and said, why would you tell him what's off limits and give him a finite number as opposed to just saying, back off from America or else, and here's what we're going to do? Giving him a list of 16 does one of two things, in my opinion, and others have said this. One, it gives Putin a list of 16 things that are most important to us and allows him to set his hackers. And remember, Russia's working closely with Iran and has some fairly significant ties with China. And both of those states have massive cyber hacking abilities. Iran is testing us hundreds of times a day, every day. And China is right there, even more so. We've seen the Chinese hacks of the Microsoft system, the mail system. We saw the supposed Russian hacks of SolarWind. Now, let me just say real quickly, though, there's no real way to prove where these attacks come from. There are so many myriad of ways to spoof addresses, leave false clues, or leave no clues, that to say this attack came from this place definitively is pretty ballsy and not often accurate. And remember, the vast majority of these cyber warfare attacks are coming from American software. Remember the hacking software that was released over the internet illegally, but still released, showing off all of the American cyber tools for attacking other systems. And those quickly spread all the way across the internet, including the dark web. Now they're being used literally every second of every day. Somewhere, someone's using those. They may just be hacking into a refrigerator repair outfit and screwing around with their payroll system. Or they may be trying to take down a Fortune 500 company. But all those tools are out there, and they're being expanded upon, and they're being refined every single day. And all of those were designed to leave no trace behind, or to leave such a slim, false trace behind that your attention would be diverted to a different state, a different actor. But 16 targets don't attack these. So again, either here are the things we're most afraid of having go down. So this is where your efforts would be best focused. Or why say only 16? Why not say back off of America, or we're going to XYZ? Instead, Putin now has a way of saying, well, we didn't attack those 16. So what are you going to do? Either way, we're screwed. It was a stupid, stupid move. You're not going to hear that from the Democrats. They're not going to say a word. There's no way they can say anything positive about it. So they're not going to say a word. But this article from Fox News by Houston Keene and Evie Fordham, lot of Republicans have had a lot to say about this. Let me just read you a few of them. This is a pretty strong comment from Elise Stefanik, who is the new House chair. President Biden's summit with Russian President Vladimir Putin confirmed our worst fear. He is too weak to stand up to our adversaries. Continuing, President Biden effectively gave our adversaries the green light to launch cyber attacks on Americans. All of America should be off limits from Russian-backed cyber attacks, not just the critical infrastructure. And we've got, let's see, let me read one more here. Michigan Representative Peter Meyer told Fox News that every, quote, American individual and entity should be off limits from Russian-based hackers, adding that America needs, continuing the quote, to use the full weight of our national security apparatus to punish any who attack our country. Meyer added, the 16 CISA-designated sectors are critical to protect, but no area should be left unprotected from cyber attacks. So pretty consistent messaging from the Republicans. And I can't see any hole in those arguments, none whatsoever. It's insane. Even if you would agree that naming those 16 targets was a good idea, there was no concrete mention of a reprisal, what that would be. Was that said to Putin? If it was, it should have been said to us, so we would know what the Russians could expect. So we could back it up if it happened to impact our daily lives in any way. But instead, we're either completely left in the dark, or Putin's been given a green light. Another red line that the Obama-Biden administrations are so notably ineffective at enforcing. Moving right along. This was the first story I saw today, and it lit up my day because it brought to light a story from Biden that I had not come across before. I thought I knew all of the Biden memory gaffes, but there's one in this story from the Daily Wire by Ryan Saavedra I had never heard before, and I will read it to you in full in case it's not part of your memory either. Real quickly, Representative Ronnie Jackson, you remember he was White House physician for some years under Obama and Trump, and he left the White House and ran for Congress in Texas and won. So Dr. Jackson is now a Republican House member out of Texas. But he submitted a letter to Biden, directly to Biden, yesterday, and it was signed by more than a dozen other lawmakers, according to the article, including by another physician and a dentist. And it told Biden that he should, quote, follow the precedent set by former President Trump to document and demonstrate sound mental abilities. Excuse me just a second. Out. Out, 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 out. I don't remember signing up to have a cat be a co-host. Just saying. And good afternoon, Twin Crier. Nice to see you. So anyway, Representative Ronnie Jackson sent this letter to Biden yesterday, again signed by more than 24 lawmakers, including another physician and a dentist. And Jackson told Biden that he should, quote, follow the precedent set by former President Trump to document and demonstrate sound mental abilities. Quote, the American people should have absolute confidence in their president. They deserve to know that he or she can perform the duties of head of state and commander-in-chief. They deserve full transparency on the mental capabilities of their highest elected leader. To achieve this, we urge you to submit to a cognitive test immediately. We implore you to then publish the test results so the American people know the full mental and intellectual health of their president and to set an example for all presidents to follow going forward. Close quote. So the letter points out a number of examples of Biden's mental lapses over the past so many months, including on the campaign trail. But let me highlight this one first, and then I'll get to the one I had not seen before. Quoting, previously, while on the campaign trail, you agreed to a similar assessment. At first, you grew testy and questioned, why the hell would I take a test, according to an AP report. Later, you relented and said you were, quote, very willing to let the American public judge my physical, as well as my mental fitness, and to make a judgment about who I am, close quote. Okay, I'm sure we all remember that. I remember that interview quite well, especially when Biden stumbled over trying to say that to allow the public to judge my physical and mental abilities or fitness, and he couldn't get that out. He had to start his sentence again midstream. So that's stuck in my memory quite completely. Now, Jackson also mentions Trump's taking the Montreal cognitive assessment back in last year and passing with flying colors. So This is the one that I had not seen before. In May, you remembered an article from, quote, my fourth or fifth year as vice president, close quote, that said, quoting again, Biden travels 1.3 million miles on Air Force One, as though, you know, the vice president actually travels aboard Air Force Two. You continued the story to explain that you took frequent trips home that year because your mom was sick, and to remember an Amtrak conductor named Angelo Negri who congratulated you on reaching 1.5 million career miles on Amtrak. However, the timeline of that story does not match up. Your fourth year as vice president would have been 2013. Negri's obituary states he retired from Amtrak in 1993, and your mother passed away in 2010. I had never seen that clip before. Knew nothing about it till I read this article. Now again, to back up Jackson as a qualified observer, finishing with the article here, Jackson reported to the White House Medical Unit, the WHMU, during the Bush era in 2006, but he did not start as physician to the president until July 2013, a position in which he served until March 28, 2018. Jackson served as WHMU director from March 2010 through December 2014. Jackson also served as chief first medical advisor to the president from February 2019 until December 2019. And as I said previously, Jackson is now the newest Texas Congress critter from Texas 13. All right, so big news there. Let's see how Psaki dances around this one. I predict the first words are going to be, he's too busy. I don't know if there's been a press conference on this yet. I don't even know if Biden's back in the U.S. from Europe yet. But I predict one of the excuses is going to be he's too busy. I can see it coming. I can see it coming. And they, of course, will not follow up by saying, well, Trump took one. I'm sure Psaki will come back with something like, well, Trump needed to. Yeah, so we'll see how this goes. Okay, touching on wokeness in Hollywood, this story is pretty crazy. It goes in and out, but what we have here is an executive vice president at Marvel Studios, and she's saying that the company's leaning into the woke side of the society, social justice, LGBTQ, because not that it's the right thing to do, but it's what brings in the money. Let me read. This is a quote from a publication called Deadline, and again quoting what's her name again? Her last name's Alonso. I can't find her first name all of a sudden. Oh, there it is. Victoria Alonso, Executive Vice President of Production. Okay, here we go. Quote, from a fiscal point of view, you are leaving money on the table by not representing. I think 51% of our audience is female, 28% of our audience is Hispanic. If we don't represent the people that watch what we make, eventually they'll go elsewhere because somebody else will figure it out. Alonso also went on as follows, for the longest time we heard a woman-led film will never open. Straw man. No one ever said that. No one ever said that. I mean, female Ghostbusters. What was the all-female version of Ocean's 11? Was it like Ocean's 8, something like that? I don't remember. I didn't see it, but I mean that came out well before Captain Marvel did, or Captain Marvel. I don't even know how it's pronounced. So I don't know where she's getting this. It's typical of the left to make a strongman argument to support why they think the way they do. It happens so often. It's really striking and also quite pathetic, woeful, sad, and disdainful. So anyway, going back to the original part of the quote here. For the longest of time, we heard a woman-led film will never open. I say, please check Captain Marvel made a lot of money. Yeah, but it also got panned quite extensively. Moving right along. Then they always told us that Black Panther was never going to open and that nobody wanted a completely black cast. Again, a complete straw man. There have been a ton of major movies led by perhaps not exclusively, but very heavily majority black actors that have done extremely well before Black Panther came out. Extremely well. So, go back again. Black Panther was ever going to open, and that nobody wanted a completely black cast, and that made $1.3 billion. So you can look at it from the social point of view, the cultural point of view, but truthfully, this is a business. From a fiscal point of view, you are leaving money on the table by not representing. So again, complete straw man arguments. I'm glad they made money. I am. I want to see Hollywood do well. I am not a big fan of superhero movies. I've gotten away from that kind of stuff. I am a huge fan of Deadpool. I have all the Deadpool comics in the anthologies. I don't have any single issues, but I have all the anthologies, and I love them to death. It's a great line, a hero. I can't get enough of it. And the first movie absolutely tickled me to death. I couldn't have enjoyed it more. Second movie was okay. Still a lot of fun, but that's quite common for second movies, really. Was there a third one? I don't even remember now. I've been busy. I've been sick. Yeah, I didn't see Black Panther because I was sick. But I'm glad it did well. Funny how the main theme of the movie initially was all Trump. Building a wall, protecting us from the outside. Conserving our resources for the betterment of our people. Funny how that was the main storyline. Just Follow Freedom says in the D-Luck chat, many of the Disney movies have women lead characters. Have for decades. Absolute decades. Since as far back as the 40s. Absolutely, JF. Absolutely. And good afternoon, Miko. 777. Nice to see you. All right, moving right along. Now, as we teased partially at the beginning of the show with the Babylon Bee article, the Supreme Court is doing a great job of not doing its job. The ruling in the case of the Catholic Adoption Agency in Philadelphia was nothing more than a technicality. And all Philadelphia has to do is rewrite the law. It'll take them about a half hour, pass it through the city council, and that organization is right back in court being sued again. And remember, the press completely misrepresented the case. They said that the organization was turning away, was refusing to help same-sex couples get adopted, or I believe they also do foster, if I'm not sure, foster children, which is entirely untrue. Not once had a same-sex couple come to that organization for a placement. Not once. And the people said if they had, they would have referred them to the other 29 agencies in the Philadelphia area that they'd be more than welcome at. But the press said that this was a case of LGBTQ discrimination and it had to be struck down. Well, it wasn't, but it was so narrowly ruled that they're going to be right back in court within months. I guarantee it, within months. And another time that the court ruled supposedly in favor of religious freedom, but in fact also ruled on a pure technicality, was the case of Jack Phillips and the Masterpiece Cake Shop. You remember Jack Phillips is a Colorado businessman, has what has become a world-famous bakery and artistic design cake shop. His creations are beautiful. I mean, the masterpiece in the company name is apt, is entirely apt. And it got around that Phillips was a strong Christian. And then he became targeted by the LGBTQ community. And a same-sex couple came for a wedding cake. And this is also misrepresented all over the place, including in the conservative press, and it drives me crazy. People keep saying Jack Phillips said that he wouldn't bake them a cake because they're same-sex, which is entirely inaccurate. He said, "I'll be happy to bake you any cake you want. but I won't decorate it in celebration of a same-sex wedding. I'm a Christian. I don't believe in same-sex marriage. I can't support that. But I will bake you anything you want. I just can't do a custom decoration celebrating a same-sex wedding. That was the case. And he was sued and went all the way up to the Supreme Court. And the Supreme Court ruled that the Colorado law was basically unconstitutional because of the way it was written towards religious actors, religious businesses, which gave Colorado a wide open window to just rewrite the law along the technicality that the Supreme Court outlined. They did so. And a trans activist specifically targeted Jack Phillips after the Supreme Court case. This person started inundating Jack with requests for all kinds of insane cake requests, like a devil worship cake, or I believe there was one with some kind of sexually explicit design. That one I'm a little fuzzy on. But ultimately, the person sued because Jack Phillips refused to bake them a pink and blue cake with custom icing celebrating their birthday and their announcement as being transgender. Phillips said, I can't do that. I don't support the transgender movement. I can't do it. You're more than welcome to go anywhere else. This was a complete setup, and the person who sued said so. They admitted from the start that they were doing this in order to get Jack Phillips into court. And they did. And article here from the Daily Caller by Kendall Teets. Jack Phillips lost in Colorado District Court Tuesday. And now it's going to have to go all the way up, probably to the Supreme Court again. So right back in SCOTUS's lap, because they wouldn't do their job the first time. And Ben Shapiro had a great show on this today on the Daily Wire, on his morning podcast. And he laid it out specifically that this is John Roberts' fault. John Roberts is the Chief Justice, and so he basically sets the tone for the court. And it has been his calling, ever since he became Chief Justice, to keep the court from making actual decisions, but instead ruling so narrowly on the law that it keeps them from making actual distinct policy, which was not what the court did for the longest time. Early on, the court wasn't like that. But after, what was it, Marbury versus Madison, I think it was, when the court expanded its purview of how it would rule on cases in American jurisprudence, it suddenly became very expansive in its rulings. Roe v. Wade, perfect example. That set the entire system of American states' rights and the protection of unborn life. It threw it out the window. Threw it out the window. All based on a made-up right that wasn't even definitive in the ruling. It was more of a penumbra, a shadow of a right that was given by a delineated right in the Constitution. The Roe v. Wade focuses on something called the right of privacy. There is no right of privacy in the Constitution. But the Roe v. Wade court made that up and then created federally legal abortion across the United States. That's why the left is so afraid a conservative court is going to overturn it, because it's written on completely illogical grounds. It basically has no underpinnings in the Constitution whatsoever. So it's ripe for being overturned. But Jack Phillips is the man's spending a fortune. He lost something like 60% of his business after the first case came out. And now people are just afraid to go there because they're probably going to get doxxed. I'm sure of it. And all this guy wants to do is make beautiful cakes. It's all he wants out of life. It's his calling. And he's good at it. And it's being taken away from him by the LGBTQ community, the activist portion of that community. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying all of them are out doing this, but the activist portion of that community are out doing this to tell everyone, you believe in what we believe, or we will take you down. We will make your life miserable. We've got money. We've got voices that are louder, even though there aren't as many of us. We're louder than everybody else. And we will bury you if you don't go along with our agenda. Look at what children are being taught in school right now. 3-year-olds are being exposed to trans ideology. 3-year-olds. This isn't even the tip of the iceberg here. This is just an ice cube in the Arctic as compared to what's going on right now. Very upset by this. Very upset by this. All right, on to lighter news. And then we're going to be done with YouTube. Like I said, real light YouTube block today because I have a lot of November election news that I have to cover, and I just can't cover it on YouTube without getting the channel pulled. There's no way around it. So my apologies to you, YouTube. Hopefully we'll have a better full show, I should say, for you Monday. But today, this is the last show. If you want to follow us, please go to DLive or Trovo. Just in case you don't have the URLs, just search DLive AHNC or Trovo AHNC. You'll find me. You'll find me easily. AHNC_hat. There I am. Sign up, follow, you'll be good to go. Moving right along. Joe Rogan had a good day of it the other day. He dove into Brian Stelter and ripped him to shreds. You may or may not know, but just the other day, Stelter came out and basically pointed a finger at Tim Pool. Because you'll know that Tim Pool's evening podcast, which I watch religiously, has been pulling in huge numbers. Tim's got something like 1.2 million followers on his YouTube part of the podcast. And his Timcast IRL, or is it timcast.com? I think it's timcast.com. His website has exploded. Absolutely exploded. I'm a member, and I'm going to be upping my membership. He recently hired a brand new news editor whose name I've suddenly forgotten. I love her. She's crazy, but I love her. Her name is Cassandra, shoot. I can't remember her last name, though. Cassandra something. She used to be with the Daily Beast. She was the only thing on the Daily Beast worth reading. But she's coming. She's left there. She's going to be chief editor at Tim's new newsroom. He's putting together a whole separate fact-check department, not even in the same building as where the news crew is, an entirely different area. So they'll be separated physically. So there'll be a Chinese wall between the fact-checkers and the story writers. Cassandra Fairbanks. And they've got a paranormal show in the works. Really good stuff too. Not the crazy stuff that you would see on History Channel, but really good stuff. And other things that are just flying out the window from his show. He's really expanded. I tell you, if you're looking for a great news source, and you don't want to fall into the Daily Wire, Blaze TV thing, I can't steer you anywhere better than Tim Pool. Again, I'm pretty sure it's timcast.com, timcast.com. You can do a membership for as low as $10 a month, and it is so worth it. It is so worth it. It is starting to replace a lot of my daily news viewing, because not only do they do the normal podcast from about 8 to 9:30, 8 to 10 Eastern. And again, I realize that's right in the middle of Lizard Bites show. I would not ever advise you to go away from Lizard Bites to something else, but you can always watch Tim afterwards. You can always watch him afterwards. But he also has an after show where they cut it off of YouTube and then post it immediately after they finish recording it to the timcast.com site. So it's stuff that's too spicy for YouTube, they put up after that, and it's really good stuff. It's really good stuff. Anyway, so Brian Stelter was talking with another reporter from CNN, a guest, whatever, and he was complaining how, quote, some shows are getting more views than CNN, getting more views than this show. Speaking of his show, Reliable Sources, the most laughable name of any news show ever. And it was pretty much a direct reference to Tim Pool, because Tim's been crushing CNN as of late, absolutely crushing them. And Stelter got reamed on social media for that because he was basically saying, how can we censor these other voices as opposed to how can we improve our product to better compete with these voices? And Joe Rogan took that ball and ran with it. And let me quote a few of these bits here from his piece. This is from Daily Wire News from today. Quoting Joe Rogan, they didn't even understand the way they were describing it. They were describing it as if they're entitled to viewers. They were saying, there are people on YouTube right now that get more views than this show. Close quote. This is because the market has spoken and your show's effing terrible. While Brian Stelter's show keeps slipping and slipping and slipping in the ratings. Close quote. After the guest noted that Stelter was, quote, the worst, Rogan responded, again quoting, so is Don Lemons. It's the same thing. Everyone knows they're not real. They're not real humans. And then Rogan went after Stelter about his interview with Jen Psaki. Quoting Rogan again, how about Brian Stelter talking to the press secretary, quoting Stelter, what are we doing wrong? What are we doing wrong? Back to Rogan, like, hey, mother effer, you're supposed to be a journalist. Rogan later said, quote, they're obviously being told a certain amount of what to do, and maybe he'd be an interesting guy if he had his own effing podcast that you can rely on his own personality and be himself. I don't know. I can't imagine doing that gig. Trinkwire says quite eloquently, they can't force us to watch CNN's lies. Funny that you say that, Trinkwire, because that's an excellent lead-in to the last part of this article. This is from Wednesday's Daily Wire. I did not get to this story because it's the same story pretty much every week, but it's worth going into in relation to what I just read. Again, this is Daily Wire reporting from Wednesday. The ratings of CNN's reliable sources plunged to their lowest level of the year this weekend, and this is last weekend, even as host Brian Stelter continues to dedicate every episode to criticizing the credibility of Fox News. In all, his show has lost 72% of its viewers since its high point on January 10. Again, 72%. Continuing. The new nadir came 1 week after Stelter all but begged White House spokesperson Jen Psaki to tell him how his network could better conform its coverage to the Biden administration's talking points. The latest episode of Stelter's show failed to attract 1 million viewers for the 11th week in a row. A mere 752,000 total viewers tuned in to watch Stelter critique the media, usually heavily focused on the more successful Fox News. On Sunday, that's down from a peak of 2.7 million viewers following the January 6th Capitol riot. Stelter's numbers look worse when measured by audience members who belong to advertisers' most coveted demographic, the 25 to 54-year-old viewer, commonly known as the demo. Finishing here, only 129,000 people among that cash-rich cohort watched. 129,000 out of the demo. That barely registers. Do you realize how little money you can charge for an ad based on ratings like that for the demo? It's peanuts. It's absolute peanuts compared to what Fox can get. Because I know Howie Kurtz's show, Media Buzz, is good. I like watching it. Media Buzz is great. Howie does a great job. He's a little old. I hopefully Howie will someday step down and Joe Concha will get his job. I like Howie a lot, don't get me wrong, but I would like to see newer blood in that chair. And I hope you've seen Joe Concha do Fox Hits because he's incredible. He's the media critic for The Hill. which is amazing. Every now and then, he'll actually hire someone worth watching. And Joe Concha is it in a nutshell. In fact, he's on Hannity all the time. And Sean has come out and said, we need to give you your own show. Hannity is vocally on air plugging Joe Concha to get his own show on Fox. And I'm telling you, I'd be there every day, or every week, depending on how often it was on, because Joe Concha is nothing but a ball of energy, and his insight is incredible. He nails it every single time. I can't say enough about him. So yeah, if you get a chance to read his stuff on the Hill, check it out. There's not much else to read on the Hill worth doing, but Joe Concha is definitely one of them. Remember, that's where John Solomon came from, is the Hill. So anyway, YouTube, we are out of here. It has been a day. Again, I'm sorry for the short show, but I have a lot of stuff to get to election-wise, and I can't do it on YouTube. That's all there is to it. If you care to, you can join us tomorrow morning starting at 9 a.m. Eastern for my Witcher 3 playthrough. We're finishing up the Blood and Wine DLC. I've started one of the paths to the endings. I believe there are 3 endings. I've only played one of them, and I'm going to try to play all 3 this playthrough. We may finish them this weekend, because as you know, if I'm feeling up to it, I do afternoon streams as well, starting at 2:30 Eastern on the weekends. But tomorrow may not be an an afternoon stream, because it looks like the weather's going to be nice tomorrow, and I'd like to get out and do a little sunbathing. I'm not getting enough vitamin D. But we will finish Witcher 3, and when we do, I'll take about a day off, and we'll be moving on to Far Cry 5. I pretty much got that all set up. Just got to do a few things within OBS, and it'll be ready to go. Speaking of shows, no show Monday at all. No show Monday at all. No show Monday at all. No morning show, no afternoon show. Our newest internet provider is going to be coming in and setting up our fiber connection. We found out by pure accident this week that we can get fiber dropped in at the house. Full package will be installed sometime Monday morning, but I'm sure it's going to take me a while to get the security cameras and everything dialed into the new system. So I'm going to need all day to play with it. So no show Monday, either in the morning or in the afternoon. But I'm looking forward to a full slate Tuesday. So tune in for that.